Today, but of course avoided apologizing for wrongly accusing Kimmel. This prompted Nancy Armour of USA Today to write, "The epitaph of Aaron Rodgers' career will no longer be limited to one Super Bowl title, 4 MVP awards, and countless superlative stats. It will also have to include his descent into conspiracy theories and misinformation and a baseless attack on Jimmy Kimmel he tried badly to excuse as a misunderstanding." Once again, Rodgers tried to blame the media, saying, and I quote Aaron, "This is their game plan. They use these words to cancel people, and they went and ran with this because it's the crazy anti-vaxxer wacko accusing somebody." Nancy Armour now concludes, you can no longer separate Rodgers, the star quarterback, from Rodgers, the quack. So, Michael Irvin, you're in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You understand reputation. How much damage has Aaron Rodgers done to his image?
This has been interesting because we watched Aaron Rodgers leave Green Bay, and I thought he was doing a great job immersing himself in New York in his new situation with his team. We saw him put out a great effort even after 4 plays in, tearing his Achilles to try to get back to said team. All of those are good things. I don't know why Aaron is on this rant right here. I watched Jimmy Kimmel tear into him last night, and it was pretty funny, actually. A couple nights ago, it was pretty funny, to be honest with you. And it's a place you don't want to be. Now, and you know, what the things I've seen, and even in the article, he's talking about this is going to put him up there with the Barry Bonds, you know, the Pete Rose with the gambling and all of that stuff.
Lance Armstrong,
and the Lance Armstrongs and all of that. And I don't know if that's so. I don't know if that's so, talking to this degree. Because you know, those things that actually touch the sport in which they participated in. But this is taking him into another world and open other eyes, and other people are talking about it. But you can never win. Football is a bring you together thing. It brings everybody together. You can have your teams and we can compete. But when you start going over into that world, you know, the politics and all the stuff that Aaron's talking about, then things they get cloudy. They get clouded, and it's a distraction. It's a distraction. And Aaron has to understand, you can say all of this in Green Bay, doesn't even make a trickle. But you say some of it in New York, and you get an avalanche. And that's what he has to understand.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, I think that's a reckless article. I don't agree that it should have ever been written. I agree that Aaron has said some controversial things, and that should deserve criticism and all that. But to compare him to people that have cheated the game,
I agree
that have
with
cheated
that.
the sports
He
they
didn't
play,
cheat. No, he didn't cheat.
He didn't cheat.
No.
He didn't cheat. He didn't take steroids. He didn't do anything on the football field to tarnish his legacy of what he did on the football field.
Correct.
So to say that and write that in the article is beyond reckless and ridiculous. It's ridiculous for anybody to associate those things, because what you're trying to associate is him cheating the game. You're associating him with people who have cheated in their sports to get an advantage, or cheated in their sports to get financial gain, or whatever the case may be, and that's not the case. Is he being a little crazy right now, the conspiracy theorist? No question. No question about it. That's beyond debate. But to say, hey, this is going to tarnish his legacy of what he did on the football field, I just think that's...
Let me push back a little. Sherman, let me push back a little for him that wrote this article, in this sense that I can see just a little inkling of what he's talking about because of the times that we are in right now, where before... Yes, it would not have an effect on Aaron Rodgers because it would have gotten dropped out, that it happened at 11 o'clock at night on some little news channel. But with social media here, this stuff gets overplayed, played over. That little clip that Aaron Rodgers will get played over and over and over again. Now, it won't affect his, I think, football legacy on the field like with the guys that he brought up. But that clip, Aaron Rodgers keep playing, it'll go over and over. We got to start thinking about what social media means now and how that plays into all of what we're talking about.
I hear what you're saying, but this is a day and age where 24-hour news stream changes every day. There's going to be a gazillion clips between now and 10 years of other people saying stuff and other people going viral and things like that. Right. But I agree with what you're saying. Like, hey, maybe he's going to sound crazy. It's going to be associated with him. But to say it affects his football legacy, that's where I draw the line. That's where I draw the ire, because you're comparing it to people who sullied their legacy by cheating. Not sullied their legacy by saying something wild. Now, if you said Terrell Owens and maybe he had some antics off the field and did some things to kind of, but he didn't cheat.
He didn't cheat, no.
He's still a great football player. He's still a Hall of Famer. Aaron's still a Hall of Fame football player. He's still a Hall of Fame talent. It doesn't change anything he's done on the field. So I take offense by somebody really trying to associate that in that way.
Yeah, and by the way, with T.O.,
it won't stop him from getting in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
It won't stop him from getting in the Hall of Fame like it's stopping them from getting in their Hall.
Yeah.
You're right.
Hey, Richard, just a quick point of order from a journalist. I did like what Nancy wrote for the most part. I think the headline was misleading, and I think it took it in a different direction that you took it, and she didn't write the headline. So just for that's not the point of this conversation, but I just want to make that.
Editors.
Okay, yes. But now back to the bigger point here. I have criticized Aaron for years and years. I've been a lone wolf for many of those years, but mine has been more locker room, sideline, football stuff. And by the way, if I just want to criticize just his football legacy, I'm going to say it again. Since that long ago, faraway Super Bowl, 13 years ago, he's 7-9 in the postseason. And if I had time, I would take you through the 7 wins because he got some big breaks in all 7 of the wins. And the 9 losses, some of them were horrendous losses because, Richard, you witnessed a couple of them. And Aaron stunk in those losses. The one at Seattle, what was that, the NFC Championship game? And then you also was at the NFC Championship game at San Francisco? Yeah, right?
I mean, we had some pretty good defenses there.
Well, I'm just saying that you made him look bad. That's what happened in both of those. So my point is, even that long ago Super Bowl wild card road run, remember in the NFC Championship game at Chicago, Jay Cutler gets hurt and he's on the bicycle in the second half. The second half of that game, I dare anybody to go look at Aaron Rodgers' performance. He wasn't very good by Aaron Rodgers' 4 MVP standards. Frankly, he stunk in the second half, and he was very lucky that, remember, he's up against the immortal Caleb Haney playing quarterback for the Bears. They were lucky they survived and got to the Super Bowl, and he was great in the Super Bowl against the Pittsburgh defense. Troy Polamalu played with a bad hamstring, Ryan Clark, and he ate him up, and Greg Jennings ate him up on that post route touchdown. I give him that. But if you look hard, I think he's had some epic fails, especially at home the last 3 years in Green Bay. And I'm not even counting the one a year ago when they lost what was sort of a playoff for the playoff game at home to Detroit, the last regular season game. So you can justly criticize his football over the last 13 years, and I can criticize his lack of leadership in the football context, his diva personality, his finger pointing and blame deflecting as the quarterback and alleged leader of that football team, and that's why he's no longer there. And by the way, it's also why in the big picture, remember, State Farm dropped him. He owned those State Farm commercials, and he was great in them for many, what was it, for it felt like 15 years of Aaron Rodgers dominating State Farm commercials, and it was odd that he goes to New York finally, leaves smallest market Green Bay for the Big Apple, and State Farm said no. And it's because he started taking away from football stances, political stances, anti-vax stances, and finally State Farm's like, we're out. And I think a lot of people are now out on Aaron just because he has gotten a little wacky in some of his, obviously his conspiracy theories, right?
Yeah, but again, that doesn't. I as a football guy, as a guy who speaks football, lives football, in the football world, I really could care less. I could care less. Did he cheat the game? Is he doing something to take away from the game? Because that's what I'm talking about right now. When you write an article like that to insinuate that he has cheated the game somehow because he's taken some kind of outrageous stances on vax and anti-vax and et cetera, et cetera.
No,
that's where
fair.
I take. And that's where you can't do it. You know, that's where you're going to sit here and we're going to have to criticize your article because you have a fair point in the article, no question. Yeah. Nancy has a fair point in what she's saying. Hey, these stances are outrageous and it's taken away from the greatness of the football player. Yeah. But then to go and associate it with those guys changes the complexity of your article in totality.
Okay, but Richard, real quick. You look at the game very differently than the average fan looks at the game. I think she's writing more to the average fan because for the fans, it is starting to be hard to separate the great quarterback from the conspiracy theorist, right? They're starting to blend together. You can't forget the off